So some types of bills require specified statements. For example, urgency statutes, fiscal emergency statutes, rights of public access, local or special statutes, and reimbursement disclaimers all utilize explanatory statements in so-called plus sections of bills. Of course, I'd like to see more bills contain explanatory statements. Several of these types of measures are actually required to do so by the state constitution, three of them, in fact. I think it's an excellent practice by the attorneys in the Office of Legislative Counsel to use explanatory statements in all of the different types of legislation. So here are the five main ones. First is urgency clauses. Article 4, Section 8D concerns urgency statutes and provides that they're necessary for immediate preservation of the public peace, health, or safety, and for drafting a statement of facts constituting the necessity shall be set forth in one section of the bill. Now, as you heard, 8D requires a statement of facts that explain the reason for the urgency and why the bill should take effect immediately. I've seen many examples of these. They always begin with, "This act is an urgency statute necessary for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, or safety within the meaning of Article 4 of the Constitution and shall go into immediate effect. The facts constituting the necessity are," and then it always begins with "in order to," and concludes with, "it is necessary that this act take effect immediately." Fiscal emergency clauses, also in Article 4, Section 10F, concerns fiscal emergencies. And so that state says that the governor can call into special session on that fiscal emergency by proclamation, the legislature. And for drafting purposes, it says in subdivision 3 that a bill addressing the fiscal emergency declared pursuant to this section shall contain a statement to that effect. So section 10F3 requires a statement to that effect for the fiscal emergency and why the bill is needed to address that fiscal emergency. The last time we had one of these was in 2008. And the standardized language says that this act addresses the fiscal emergency declared by the governor by proclamation pursuant to subdivision F of section 10 of Article 4 of the California Constitution. The third is special statute clauses. Article 4, Section 16 addresses both general and special statutes and says in subdivision A that all laws of a general nature have uniform operation, while subdivision B says that a local or special statute is invalid in any case if a general statute can be made applicable. So Section 16 does not require any statement to be included. However, the Office of Legislative Counsel requires these types of bills to include an explanation of why a general statute cannot be made particular in this statute. The following is an example. The legislature finds and declares that a special statute is necessary and that a general statute cannot be made applicable within the meaning of Section 16 of Article 4 of the California Constitution because of, and then they go on to explain why a special or local statute is needed. With public access claims, Article 1, Section 3 of the Constitution concerns the right of the people to have access to information concerning the conduct of the people's business, including meetings of public bodies and the writings of public officials and agencies, both local and state, which must be open to the public's scrutiny. And in Article 1, Section 3, it doesn't require any statement to be included. However, the Office of Legislative Counsel requires these types of bills to include an explanation of why this particular bill furthers the purposes of the right of public access. So a recent example from the 2025 session has this standard introductory paragraph, which reads, "The legislature finds and declares that Section 4, or whatever it is, of this particular act, this particular bill, which amends section whatever of a particular code, furthers within the meaning of paragraph 7 of subdivision B of section 3 of Article 1 of the California Constitution, the purposes of that constitutional section as it relates to the right of public access to the meetings of local public bodies or the writings of local public officials and local agencies. Pursuant to paragraph 7 of subdivision B of section 3 of Article 1 of the Constitution, the legislature makes the following finding or findings and then describes it. The last one then is reimbursement disclaimers. And bills in the legislature can impose a state mandated local program, which potentially requires reimbursement by the state to local agencies or school districts. And the state constitution requires the state to reimburse local agencies and school districts for these specified mandated costs. In Article 13B of the Constitution that was added in 1979, there are 15 sections, including Section 6, which deals with state mandated local programs. And specifically, Section 6A says that the legislature may but need not provide a subvention of funds for four possible mandates. The first is for legislative mandates requested by the local agency that's being affected. Two, legislation defining a new crime or changing an existing definition of a crime. Three, legislative mandates enacted prior to 1975. And four, legislative mandates contained in statutes within the scope of paragraph 7 of subdivision B of section 3 of Article 1. So Article 13B, section 6A, again, like other ones, doesn't require a statement to be included. However, the attorneys wisely at the Office of Legislative Counsel require these bills that might impose a state mandated local program to include an explanation of why the legislature, for example, doesn't have to reimburse local agencies or school districts for the cost of the state mandated program. And here's an example. No reimbursement is required by this act pursuant to Section 6 of Article 13B of the California Constitution, because the only cost that may be incurred by a local agency or school district will be incurred because this act creates a new crime or infraction, eliminates a crime or infraction, or changes the penalty for a crime or infraction within the meaning of Section 17556 of the Government Code, or changes the definition of a crime within the meaning of Section 6 of Article 13B of the California Constitution.